from the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, episode 11. I am your host, Hector Cano, along with my lovely co-host, Coach Rafa Castorena. Coach, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing. We weren't supposed to wear the same color, man. I guess we didn't. I don't know. You didn't read the memo. I didn't know. So in case you're wondering,
Portugal maroon.
Yeah, mine was in honor of. A tribute to my alma mater who won today. So a little shout out to them later. All right, so awesome. But hey, I dig the Portugal colors though. So awesome. So welcome. Hey, we got a busy show. We got a lot to get to. But before we do that, let us remind you that we are powered by our proud partners, College Promoters USA. They are America's premier college prep program and high school student athlete marketing service since 1997. Located locally here in the San Antonio area, you can find them in the Ventura Plaza Shopping Center. You can also find them on social media on Twitter at SATX Recruiting, as well as on Instagram at College Promoters USA. And you can also get more information on what they're about and the many cool things they're doing at their website at collegepromotersusa.com. Well, day 2 in the books. Crazy day. Before we begin, we're going to start a little different today. But before we do that, general thoughts on today.
I guess not so much of this as far as the surprise as far as like the 4A final, which I know we'll get into. I was a little shocked at how it ended, and some good matchups in the morning. You know, some teams going toe to toe, and then as far as the nightcap with the boys,
right?
Some tight games in the first half, and then some of the favorites starting to pull away in the second half. And that's kind of what we saw today.
Yeah. It was the interesting thing about today. My general thought is, I don't know. Like, you would have to kind of, I don't know. Maybe it was our first game of the day to maybe say what was our actual match of the day, right? Maybe it was. Smithson Valley and Grapevine, right? How that played out. That was the one that was, even though we had one other match that was decided by a goal. That one went to overtime, double OT. And but yeah, I guess that was the big thing, is there was no clear cut runaway winner with the match of the day, kind of like how maybe we were anticipating, right? So yeah, those were just kind of my general thoughts on the day. Of course, we're going to dive into all of that. But we're going to start off a little different. So obviously, we crowned a state champion today in Salina. The Salina Lady Bobcats took care of business in historic fashion as they defeated Stephenville Honeybees 8-1 in the 4A girls final. And there was some mixed thoughts in terms of, hey, was this the actual, was this going to give us the top 2 teams in 4A? Some people, there were different schools of thought. Some people thought that the actual true final took place yesterday between them and Bernie. So there was different, there was not mixed emotions, but just different schools of thought going into today's final. And but I think if anybody told you, yes, we know how talented Salina is, but we also know that that's a talented Stephenville squad. And no, I don't think anybody would have predicted that it would have played out quite the way it did. Thoughts on, so Salina wins it 8-1. Lexi Tweet, it was the Lexi Tweet show, ultimately, is what it was, but kudos to all her teammates as well. They just said multiple, and I'll let you break that down a little bit more, Coach, because I know it wasn't just her teammates, it was just multiple records set in this match. And of course, Lexi Tweet wins the 4A girls MVP. She's awarded the MVP as well, as rightfully so. But your thoughts, and she also had walks away with the record for most goals in a match at the UIL state tournament with 5. So Thoughts on this match, Coach?
Going in, like I said, you had two undefeated teams. Stephenville rolled over, against Lumberton. So you're probably thinking, this is going to be a pretty even matchup. Salina, they got by Bernie. Bernie I think Bernie's probably the one that kind of kept them below 3 goals.
Right.
And then I know I read some comments about that. Supposedly that was the best game they've played and so forth. But they made some mistakes in the back that Bernie, like I said, they didn't get a chance to take advantage of, or they were a step off. So I think going into the final, they knew that, hey, we got to play a lot better, especially defensively this game, because, like I said, you saw Stephenville put 4 on Lumberton, and say if they get one in,
yeah,
this can catch the story. And sure enough, Salina just hit the foot on the gas and didn't let up. And what do you can say about Lexi tweeting? She brought out her inner Kareem Benzema on that game, scoring 3 goals in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that's a record for high school student. A hat trick in right. In 15 minutes. To score 3 goals in 15 minutes, it could be a state finals record or state record. We don't know, but.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, she didn't let off the gas. She probably could have scored maybe 7 or 8. Just the way she missed a couple of them. But
yeah,
for her to score 5, just shows the talent that she has. But also kudos to her teammates too.
Absolutely,
just getting the ball. But also there's other ones that also put the ball in the net. And I think this was a better game for them because it was a complete game. Didn't really just one lapse on the defense, as far as like a long distance shot, but as far as it was pretty much a clean game that they played, and they just didn't look back. It was already over by halftime, so they kind of hit a little bit. They could have hit the cruise control, but they wanted to make a statement on this game, and they did, and they ended up winning the state championship. One of a few teams that go undefeated without a blemish. That's something to say about about this program.
Yeah, I mean, truly historic. Coach Adams has been there 2 years, and he's done an incredible job. As obviously, and sometimes when you have that much talent, right, part of it is managing it, right, managing expectations, keeping everyone focused, managing playing time, all of those things. And he's been there 2 years, 2 state titles. I mean, guy needs he becomes one of his team becomes one of only 3 teams to ever have a perfect season, end to end, spotless, undefeated, not just unbeaten but undefeated, no draws, wins a state title. I mean, man, it's I don't know. I'd be thinking about just hanging them up right now. It'd be awfully tough to beat that. But no, congratulations to Coach Adams and the Lady Bobcats. Coach Adams, a multi-time 50/50 podcast alum. We look forward to having him join us soon again to tell us about this journey, tell us about this trip. I sat down with him back in November, and at the Tasco convention, and true, he was as sincere as could be. His biggest concern was, hey, where are we going to get scoring from? Replacing Taylor Strajewski, who's now at Texas Tech. Where are we going to get that scoring? Where are we going to replace somebody that sets the all-time single season scoring record and the all-time career record in UIL? And I mean, his team responded. They had, I believe it was close to 210 goals scored this season. So unreal. So yeah, congratulations to him. Congratulations to his program, his team, the entire Salina community. Phenomenal matchup. Some of the records here. So most goals scored in a single game with 8, most goals scored in a championship game with 8, most assists, and these are all state, UIL state soccer championship records for 4A. Most assists in a game, 6, and most assists in a championship game, also with 6. So just phenomenal stuff. Yeah. I don't know anything else. I don't know what else there is to add. I mean, there's just a ton, but thoughts on how this match played out in terms of just Stephenville. I mean, I think the other piece too, we just saw it happened so quick. And then I think I commented to you and to Steve about, I think it was Lexi Tweet's third goal, which was the the Maradona, the goal of the century.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, unbelievable goal. So, um, yeah. So I think it becomes one of those tricky situations where you've just run away from your opponent so early, and then you're kind of, I guess, for lack of better words, kind of cruising, trying to get to the end, but still be respectful and still continue to still be respectful to your opponent and compete to the very end. Final thoughts on this one, Coach?
I mean, what you can say with that play she did, I mean, I'm sure gave like all the England fans nightmares. Like flashbacks on that play. I mean, she was just phenomenal. I mean, for her to, the shoes to step in, you know, this season for especially for the leading goal scorer they had last year, she had some big shoes to fill, and she was up for the challenge, and she stepped it up. But also the team too itself, they had a big target on the back. And one thing about here's something, and if you look at early on the season, look at the teams who they played. They didn't shy away from anybody. They played some 6A teams. They beat Dallas Ursuline. I mean, and handily too. And I think that was the only team that scored maybe two goals on them, and everything was a bunch of shutouts. Yeah. So it shows that you kind of wonder, it's like, is Salina good enough to even win the 5A state title? I mean,
right?
Can they whoever wins the 5A state title, love to see play, or even the 6A. They probably could compete against them, and that'd probably be an awesome game to watch. Whoever wins out of those two championships, because they just have so much talent there. Now the question is, for next year, can they three-peat? And right now they're probably maybe the clear-cut favorite. So what they have, they don't just rebuild, they reload, and we'll see how, maybe we'll have, Stephenville, like I said, they're great. They won it a few years ago. I'm sure they'll bounce back from this and also learn and see what they need to do to, to get back and also to compete in the, in this game. And, I was kind of looking for them to see if they could throw kind of like the first punch as far as goals. I think if that had happened, I think that would have helped them out. But I think Salina today was not messing around. I think they learned a lot from yesterday's game against Bernie, because Bernie, like I said, kept them on their toes. And I think this game, they're like, you know what, we're not going to mess around. We got to do what we need to do. And I think that second half change they did yesterday, it just carried on into today. And so we'll see what they'll do for next year. Like I said, they're going to be challenged, but I anticipate them to see them back again in Georgetown in 2024.
Yeah, already talks. I was just like, man, let them enjoy it for 24 hours. We're already talking about three-peat, right? So that comes with, and that comes with a different set of pressures, expectations, whatever you want to call it. I was on the phone. I was on the phone today with Coach Strong, Michael Strong from Bernie, right? And the head coach of the Bernie Greyhounds, their men's soccer program. And, we were talking a little bit about that, and, his boys were up for it. You know how when we had that conversation with them at the start of the year, right? They were game, they were ready for it. And, but it still comes with a heavier load of expectations. Anything in the slightest goes wrong and it's news, right? So Coach Adams will obviously, he has a ton of talent on that roster, but he will lose some graduating seniors that are off to play at the next level as well. He still has a ton of talent coming back, but yeah, that will become the focus. That will inevitably become the question. So yeah, we look forward. So again, congratulations, Coach Adams and his Lady Bobcats. So the Salina Lady Bobcats, they are your 2023 4A girls state champions. And as well, congratulations to the Stephenville Honeybees on an exceptional season, right? I think it's safe to say that the Stephenville of old that we knew, right, and their state championship form is back, right? So we have no doubt that we'll hear from them again as well. So. All right, so that was actually our 4A girls state title matchup was actually our third game of the day, right? So our first match of the day, we're going to kind of work in reverse order. We wanted to highlight the final first, since we crowned the state champion. But our first match of the day was kicked off at 9:30 a.m. and it was Smithson Valley came in at 27-0 versus Grapevine Mustangs at 24-3-2. This one was an immediate eye opener just because 29 seconds in, boom, Smithson Valley takes the lead on a great goal from Sabrina Tabor. And then it was like, oh, like got everyone's attention, right? Thoughts on this one, Coach?
Yeah, that goal, I don't know if that's the fastest goal ever scored in a state tournament game, but that's what
second fastest is what they're saying.
Fastest thing. I mean, that's what, and like I mentioned last night, is that since in order for Cincinnati Valley to win, they had to throw the first, like I mentioned, throw the first punch and get a goal and maintain the lead and try to build upon that, because if you know that Grapevine has the experience being a state finalist from last year. They have that bad taste in their mouth not winning it at all. Because Frisco Wakeland took it away from them last year in that overtime game. So it was important for them, and they played well in the beginning. They were getting through. They were getting chances. I think they also defended well in some of those throw. I think one thing they were kind of concerned about was those throw-ins, and they were able to defend up quite a few of those. But I think Grapevine I think that goal kind of woke him up a bit, and then he gradually started taking over the game from there.
Yeah, the interesting piece, I'm trying to actually find it here. I had it. Where is it? It's here. So it was Katie Cinco Ranch, right? It was Sophie Salvarino. So back in 2016, the fastest. So ironically, the fastest and second fastest goals in state tournament history. That team lost, right? So that's just some irony. Credit there to, I know that was Mr. Bowtie that dug that one up and shared that one earlier. So yeah, so kind of some irony there, right? But yeah, I think that just interesting. It was a battle, and I think you could tell that late in the second half of that second half, it was. Grapevine started to show their muscle, right? They were winning. They were beginning to win more, almost every ball. And Smith Valley was on their heels at times, or just defending more. And you could just tell they were starting to tire. And then that goal, they get that. Grapevine gets that tying goal with about 12 minutes left. They go in head into overtime. 5 minutes into that first overtime, Grapevine's able to get the take the lead on a play that just didn't seem out of the ordinary, and especially with a very strong Smithson Valley team that defends extremely well. But you could just tell that the legs, they were tired, they were gassed, and so yeah, that ends up being the difference in that one. And what can you say? So Grapevine advances. Grapevine wins regional, or here I go again, state semifinal number 1 with a score of 2-1 in double overtime over Smithson Valley. And Grapevine advances to play in Saturday's state final. Thoughts on Smithson Valley season, Coach?
Well, I think going back to the game, I think the difference was that whiff on that cross from Smithson Valley, that point blank pass inside the box, and I think the Cincinnati Valley forward whiffed on it. If she connects with that, it's a 2-0 game. And maybe we're talking about Cincinnati Valley advancing. I think that was probably the one that changed everything, because right after that, the goal was scored. It's sometimes the soccer gods have other plans, and I'm sure that player, I feel bad for that, player, because that would have probably been the ticket to get to the state tournament, into the state final, if she makes that. And it was a clear cut. Like I said, the goalie was beat on that play. But what you can say about Smithson Valley, they had high expectations last year. And, they should have made a big run last year in 6A. I know they got knocked out by Westlake, and I know it was disappointing there, but this year, they stepped up to the challenge. They were the best team in Region 4, even though they had a tough one with that Liberty Hill team in the beginning, but that kind of woke them up, and they started, and then even the regional final, I know they dominated that game, even though they won 1-0, but they were pretty much the most consistent team here in Region 4. And like I said, and this is their first time getting into the state, so you don't have that experience like Grapevine does, but still, but it's a good, good thing, good foundation for that program for even for next year. Like I said, I know they're losing 13 seniors, but I think they set the bar high for that program, and we'll see, what Coach Askins does for next year. I know they're in Region 4. There's going to be some other contenders that are going to be gunning for them, but I think they'll still be in the mix, as far as one of the top programs here, not only in the Region 4, but also in the state.
Yeah, no doubt. Congratulations to Coach Atkins and his Lady Rangers. Just a historic season for them, right there. The deepest run they've ever had. They end the season 27-1. A tough way to lose your first match of the year, right? Is in the state in the state tournament, the state semifinal. And I know the commentator was even talking about that, how it's historically, Birkelbach has not been very kind, right? Has not been very kind to teams that come in undefeated, right? That's just, I don't know, I don't know if it's just if it can that sometimes be a jinx, if it's a a curse, what is it, or just the heavy expectations, the burden. But yeah, I mean, not that I think that's the case with Smith and Valley, but yeah, just phenomenal program. What he's done there, what he's built there. He's been there for a long time, and it's a machine. Yes, they lose 13 seniors next year, but if there's anybody, I would be putting money on that. There's going to be more than just in the mix next year, even though they may be looking at, dare I say, a rebuild, right? Yeah, I mean, they're gonna be there. They're gonna compete. They're gonna contend. So yeah, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to be going against them or betting on them. Or against them, I should say. So yeah, so that was game one. Game one on the day. Game two, which was our second 5A girls semifinal, was between the Georgetown Eagles with the ultimate home field advantage and Frisco, the Raccoons. Something I wanted to go back to, Rico, before we dive in is Steve, Steve Sanchez, our 50/50 podcast contributor, team member here. He was at the matches again today, giving us a lot of insight from the sidelines. And, kudos to Steve. Got to see lots of great soccer today, lots of quality teams, individual players as well. So thank you to Steve-O. Steve, appreciate you, buddy. And look forward to having you back in the 210 soon, and hopefully we can have you on here with us by the end of the week. But yeah, Georgetown comes in 25-0-4. Frisco, the Raccoons, 22-2-2. This one, in my personal opinion, was a strange one, because Frisco takes the lead with about 29 minutes left to play. In the first half, they're up 1-0, and then it was a strange one because I had to keep going back to the I found myself having to keep going back to the scoreboard because it felt at times I thought Frisco was up by more than one, and but yeah, it had an odd feeling to it at times. Georgetown, you could see what they were trying to piece together. Their goalkeeper in De Leon more than keeping them in the match as well, but they just struggled to connect the final passes to get the clean, great opportunities versus this Frisco squad.
This was you mentioned an odd game, and like I said, I actually picked. Like I said, I thought Frisco was going to pull this one out, because I really felt they were more battle tested than Georgetown, especially through the region. I mean, when you got like I mentioned, you got Wakeler and Reedy and Lone Star in your district. That says something there, and they finally put it all together in that playoff run. And I'm not saying put down on Georgetown because, like I said, they had a great run too, right, and they're undefeated. But I think also playing at home, you have a lot of pressure in front of your fans. Mm-hmm. I think Steve mentioned there was a big crowd. I think I even heard the band was playing too. I think they had the school band.
They didn't just have a drum line. They had, I think, like half their band was there.
Yeah, so the pressure was on them. They had to deliver. And Frisco was kind of like, we're at their place. Let's just play our game, and they're able to sneak one in, and they barely stifled Georgetown. They couldn't really muster any offense. Like you mentioned finishing on the final third. They just couldn't really, because they dominated possession, but they just couldn't really. It's kind of like what happened with Bernie yesterday. They just couldn't finish and or they were a step off from finishing. But I think also the Georgetown keeper, she kept them from getting. It could have occurred to turn her a route. She made some excellent saves and so forth. So kudos to her. If there's an MVP in the game, she was it. Even though they were on the losing side of the game, but without her, I think this could have been to like a 2-3-0 win for Frisco. But yeah, Georgetown just couldn't finish, and kudos to Frisco, and now in the final, and it's an all Dallas area final.
Yeah, and so that I think it's pretty much a great way to put it. I think just unfortunate for Georgetown there. Would have been pretty awesome to see the the hometown squad playing in the state final, right? But so that does it for the 5A girls. Both Grapevine and Frisco advance and will face one another. That match is scheduled for Saturday, April 15th. That will be the first match on Championship Saturday at 11 a.m. Again, that'll be Grapevine 24-3-2 versus Frisco 22-2-2 on the season. So look forward to that one. All right, so we covered the in between those was the 4A girls final, which we already covered. So then we started moving over to the evening games, right? The boys came out, 5A boys, and we kick off with the first one with El Paso Bel Air Highlanders, came in at 27-0-1 on the year versus Mission Sherilyn. I know you had picked this one to be your potential match of the day. Thoughts on this one, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, you had two, I think they were kind of mirror image of each other. They're both schools are on the border, but they play kind of similar styles. A lot of possession, a lot of athleticism, and I really thought this was going to be. I got to see some of the highlights because I had to go to an event during the game, but I saw some of the highlights to it, and you can tell it was a very competitive game. But kudos to Bill. I mean, Sherilyn through the first, like I mentioned, through the first punch had to lead, and I'm sure that woke up Bel Air. And like you mentioned, Bel Air was without their leading scorer because of a red card the last game. And but you got to give kudos to Bel Air. They found a way to win. They end up scoring 4 straight goals, and now that puts their ticket to get another state title on Saturday. And but also, hats off to Sherilyn because they had. If you look at who they played. Look at some of the teams they played. They had to beat some probably not only the best teams in the valley, but they had a good win against Rouse, and like I said, they also had a great win over Southwest. Yeah. So they played some
very good.
So they played some quality. They were battle tested, and I'm the same thing with Bel Air too. They were battle tested as well. So that's why I thought this was going to be kind of the game because it's you got two teams that were kind of mirror images.
It started like that, 7 minutes in, it was 1-1, and Bel Air hadn't allowed a goal the entire playoffs, right? Very stingy defense. And, a minute and 5 seconds in, they get scored, that off of a penalty, right? So, Sherilyn's goal comes off of a penalty, rightfully so, a rightfully awarded one. When Bel Air finds themselves down 1-0 for the first time in a long time. And I think you're right. That woke them up because that was the first time Bel Air had trailed in a long time. And that lasted for all of about 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes. Bel Air gets the equalizer. And then from there, it was the pressure, the press, their style, Bel Air's style of play. It started to show. It started to separate a little bit more. And, they rattle off 3 more. So they rattle off 4 unanswered and pull away that some unbelievable goals. It was a high flying, very entertaining match. I mean, Steve Sanchez, who was at the match again as well, was telling us about it. It's a very entertaining matchup. And in that second half, I think Bel Air just kind of, they're just very consistent. And the interesting thing, as we mentioned, this is a Bel Air squad that was missing, their 2 of their top forwards, including their leading scorer. So they did it without them. They'll have them back for the final. So they'll be well rested, but that's going to make for an interesting final as well. So again, that's Bel Air defeats Mission Sherilyn 4-1 to advance to the 5A boys final on Saturday. And in the other matchup, semifinal number 2, it was Frisco Lone Star coming in at 22-1-2 versus Pflugerville Conley 23. I'm sorry, 2-4. Thoughts? This was kind of a very physical grudge match, right? Thoughts on this one, Coach?
Yeah, I know Lone Star was the favorite for this one, but this could have been, I think, a trap game for them. Maybe looking forward to getting to the final, because Pflugerville Conley is a quality team. They've been some good teams to make it to this far, and like I said, I did get to see pretty much the second half in this game, and there were some chances that they had when they showed the first half highlights, and they had a quality forward that can do some damage. And I saw what he was trying to do. He was really working on that defense, and just was very unlucky on some shots.
Yeah.
So, but Lone Star finally found a way. They were able to break through. Get a goal. That was a beautiful goal off that set piece, off that little flick from the header.
Yeah, that first one came
missed
5 minutes. It was 5 minutes into the start of the second half, because it was 0-0 at halftime.
And that really kind of woke them up a bit, and there started being a little more confidence out of that. And then they got the second one on that set piece. Beautiful place goal, kind of one of those Ronaldo shots when everyone jumped up, and it goes. I think it was like the one he did against Bayern Munich. It looked exactly like the shot right below. And then, like I said, and I think from that second goal, pretty much kind of broke the Pflugerville's back on that one. I think it was tough for them to recover. I think they were still in it, even though a goal down. I think had they equalized, I think this game goes to overtime. But kudos to Lone Star. They were finally able to put away that third goal away and put them away, and they just punched their ticket and going to the final.
Yeah, and a little note here from Steve as well, talking about Lone Star's back line being very organized, disciplined, and physical. So this was just a very, very physical matchup for sure. But I think that I know I thought in this one, oftentimes you see it go the bad direction. I actually thought this official did, because this game had like one speed the entire game, right? And it was very physical. And I thought the center official did a good job of managing it, because I think a lot more cards could have come out. So note here from Everyman Dan: first goalkeeper should have come out of the ball earlier or stayed at home on his line. Yeah, caught it. Yeah, so no man's land, as we refer to it. So Frisco. I'm sorry. Frisco Lone Star advances, defeats Pflugerville Connolly, and again, Pflugerville, Connolly was there, the de facto, home match for them, because they're right down the road. But unfortunately, it doesn't come to fruition for either them or Georgetown. Excuse me, as Frisco Lone Star defeats Connolly 3-0 and will advance to Saturday's 5A final, where they will also face Bel Air in that match, scheduled for approximately 1:30 p.m. on Championship Saturday, immediately after the 5A girls match. Excuse me. So that's that pretty much wraps up 4A and 5A. What we saw tomorrow, tomorrow the big dogs come out. 6A. 6A comes out. We start seeing, the last of the semifinals begin tomorrow. We're looking forward to that. But before we get to that, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick word from our friends at College Promoters USA.
College Promoters USA, founded and located in San Antonio, operates as the only family-owned college recruiting company in Texas that brings a truly professional, local, and face-to-face approach to area high school student athletes and their families. As the lead sponsor and proud supporter of the 50/50 podcast, alongside Coach Hector Cano, College Promoters is proud to be elevating its support for the college soccer recruiting process more than any other service in the country. If your son or daughter is serious about competing in college soccer, call College Promoters USA directly at 210-494-6363 or visit collegepromotersusa.com anytime. College Promoters USA, the best investment a parent can make in their high school student athlete.
And we're back. And we're excuse me, and we're back with episode 11 Inside Texas High School Soccer. Volume was a little low there. 10:30 at night. Here we are. We're discussing the best thing to discuss: Texas high school soccer. Coach, nobody's asleep. Yeah, it's a school night, but nobody's sleeping anyway. So stay up. So we're more than halfway through the show here. So now we got to talk about the big dogs who come out tomorrow. 6A semifinals begin tomorrow, and then we'll wrap up. Yes, we haven't forgotten about the 4A boys final. We will wrap up with them. So tomorrow we kick off same time, 9:30 a.m., 5 matches, starting with our 6A girls pair of semifinals back to back. 4A boys final is in between, kind of sandwiched in between the 6A semifinals, and then we'll wrap up with the evening games with the 6A boys, both 5 at 7 and 7:30. So so let's go and take a look. First match of the day, 9:30 a.m., 6A girls semifinal number 1, Wiley East. Your Wiley East, right? Versus comes in at 28-0 versus Ridge Point, also coming in undefeated at 23-0-5. I'm going to go on a limb and say that I think this is going to be our match of the day tomorrow. I have that. I'm getting those vibes from this one. Thoughts on this one tomorrow?
This is going to be a great matchup. What can you say about Wiley East? They've been very consistent this year. I've had him in the top 3 as far as my power rankings. I think this could be their opportunity to take it all. But they have a tough test. They have a team in Ridgepoint that made it last year, and I'm sure Ridgepoint, that heartbreak they had against Rockwall, because last year Ridgepoint was the favorite pretty much to win it all. But Rockwall had other plans, and I'm sure that's back on the mind of Ridgepoint, what they can do, what needs to be taken care of tomorrow. So I'm sure they're going to have to be prepared and go all out, because that's what they need to do. But we'll see what Wiley East does. This is their first time. Sometimes your first time, it's you don't have that background of being there at the dance, and it may take a little bit to get adjustments, but like I said, if Ridgepoint can take advantage of it, like I said, they could easily win this game. It can go either way, but I think Wiley East just has just a little bit more on this one, and I think Wiley East it's going to be a tie game. I could see this one going to overtime, but I think Wiley East is going to pull this one off.
You don't think Ridgepoint comes in with that another chip on their shoulder after the last 2 years, ready to go, I think, versus Wiley East, who's more than talented enough, very well coached, but does Georgetown can sometimes do it, Birkelbach can sometimes do that, right, where the moment just kind of becomes a little
too big.
It stretches certain teams a little too thin. That is, I guess that's what we're going to try to find out, right? And if excuse me, Wiley East can get out to a lead, some sort of lead relatively early, right? Then maybe that becomes a different matchup, right? But I think we're in for a potentially a high scoring, high flying, some dramatic finish in this one. So that'll be 6A girls semifinal number 1 at 9:30 a.m. That's the only one that we know for sure will start at its assigned time, right?
Sometime.
Match number 2 on the day will be 6A girls semifinal number 2, approximately 12 p.m. Louisville Marcus versus at 24-1-1 versus the surprise team, right? The surprise team for many, not to them, right? But I think a lot of people wouldn't have necessarily said this maybe a month ago, even though we know they have a very talented squad. They finally appeared to be their healthiest they've been in a while, and have almost just about everybody is Round Rock Westwood Warriors. 13, 4, and 8 on the season. Thoughts on this one?
It's gonna be this is like David versus Goliath right here, because what can you say about Farmount Marcus? I mean, they have the history of being here. They're one of the best team programs in the state consistently. I know they took down South Lake Carroll last week, but that's another story to talk about, because there's some players missing, but they're here, and like I said, they took advantage of it. And one thing about Marcus they can't do is take Westwood lightly, and
No.
they still have to play this game, Because if you get caught flat-footed or so forth, looking ahead, or even the kind of like the hangover from last week's win, you can get someone can come up from you and bite you in the butt, and Westwood can do that. And like I said, we got to see Westwood firsthand last week, and they have a great squad, great players. Mm-hmm. They touch the ball well, very disciplined. But they do have a tall task. Like I said, Marcus is that one, like I said, one of the premier programs, and it'll be a great game. I'm favoring Marcus on this one, but like I said, Westwood's not going to back down from a fight, and they're going to give everything got tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. So our third match of the day, which we're actually going to highlight last, which we just mentioned, will be our 4A boys final. That one is slated for approximately 2:30 p.m. We'll come back to that one. Fourth match of the day, game number 4 of the day, approximately 5 p.m. 6A boys semifinal between the team, my team that I predicted to win it all back in January. Katy Seven Lakes comes in at 26-1-1 on the season, lost their first match of the year and haven't lost since, right? Versus the other, I guess you could say, just the dark horse. I don't know. We call them Cinderella, the dark horse, the surprise to many people in Garland Sachse. They come in at 21-6. Thoughts on this one?
This is going to be a really good matchup here. Sasky's been scary the last few weeks. They've beaten some quality teams, and I'm sure Seven Lakes is taking notice that. And if you look at some of this, what Sasky's just done, they've knocked off a really good Mansfield team, Duncanville, the Woodlands. So they've beaten some quality ranked teams, statewide teams, and Seven Lakes cannot take them lightly. They're going to have to really play their style, dictate the pace and get on them early. Like I mentioned, every man Dan mentioned, they've only given up a goal in the playoffs, so they have a very stingy defense. So Seven Lakes really has to get it going, put the pressure on them, and score early, and keep on scoring to get the win tomorrow. So, but it's gonna. I think this could be your game of the match here on this one. Don't be surprised. This will be the game of the match.
Match of the day.
Match of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, yeah, I think the way I viewed this, Coach Kruger, Jimmy Kruger's, Seven Lakes Spartans this year is just on a mission, maybe somewhere along the lines of where we kind of saw maybe Lake Travis last year, right? Just on this mission after the unfortunate unfavorable result they had at state last year, and they just extremely talented, but yeah, Sachse's just. I don't know. You can make the argument that they might be the most dangerous team in the field of 4 for the boys. But yeah, so that will be that's 6A boys semifinal number 1 tomorrow, slated for approximately 5 p.m. Katy Seven Lakes and Garland Sachse, and then our nightcap final one of the day, game 5, which will be at approximately 7:30 p.m. 6A boys semifinal number 2. The Allen Eagles come in at 22-5 versus the first year 6A Dripping Springs Tigers come in at 14-11-2. Don't let that record fool you. For this, I think this is one where, I mean, I think this is going to be hold on to your seats, hold on to your hats. This one, because Dripping Springs, 14-11-2, and the way they started, what their record was at an early stage in this season, and the fact that they're here, right, that they won their region, and here they are, it just speaks volumes in terms of their coaching, their program, their players, their talent level, their character, their community. And then Allen, I just kind of view, yes, they only have two losses on the year, but I view Allen, I've joked about it, right? I view them like Jason from Friday the 13th. They
won't die.
They won't die. They're never out, right? They've some of that luck that we talk about that it takes to get to the final, to get to state, to get to a final, and to win a final. And that's the old saying, right? Is we say it in Spanish, right? Is that you don't play the finals, you win them, right? You win them, you don't play them. So that's the big part here. So these are going to be two interesting matchups for different reasons. But thoughts on this one between Allen and Dripping Springs?
I think this one might be like a high flying game. It's gonna be back and forth. Um, if you look at Dripping Springs, they started I think with 2-8-2, and then they end up winning, going 12-3 the rest of the way. They got hot at the right time, and I know, granted, there were some teams that were favored in Region 4 that got knocked off, so it really kind of helped them a little bit there. But the thing, they remain consistent, and like I said, they got 2 big wins last week in the regionals, and here they are. But they got a tough one here. Allen, they're the cardiac kids,
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Something's. I wonder what's in that water over there in Allen, because it's winning them games, and and they've kind of flown a little bit on the radar because there was other teams that are kind of getting more of the attention. But I think now for them, they've really kind of hit their stride. So you got 2 teams kind of like at their peak. Something's gonna have to give here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna give the edge to Allen. Allen, they're just something about them that maybe this is finally their year to get to the final. But don't count out Dripping Springs, because they made the final last year, but for 5A, so they have the experience, so they know how to get out certain situations. And I know they were disappointed last year, falling short against Wakeland. Because this be their redemption here, to finish, like, quote unquote, finish the fight, win 2 and pick up that trophy that they couldn't do last year.
I was waiting for the finish the fight quote. So there it is. So yeah, I mean, every man dance. So if Dripping Springs, he calls them the true Cinderella. If Dripping Springs is Cinderella, then Saxe is the dark horse, right? So yeah, but I wouldn't be. Would I be stunned if somehow we're looking at a Saxe Dripping Springs final? No. No, absolutely not. That said, they got tall. It's a tall order versus Katie Seven Lakes and Allen for sure. So again, that Allen Dripping Springs matchup, that'll be the nightcap tomorrow. Estimated again, set for approximately 7:30 p.m. Again, all these matches are fluid because we don't know any matches that go into overtime, which automatically means double overtime and potentially penalties, right? Plus pregame warmups. So you know how that goes. So that is game 5. But of course, that leaves one match that we haven't discussed yet, and that is going to be our excuse me, our 4A boys final. But before I do that, let me tell you real quick about our good friends at Global Scarves. In case you didn't know, we partnered with Global Scarves about 6 weeks ago or so, and they've done our representative there, Kyle Wall, and they're the great crew there at Global Scarves. They did up a fabulous scarf for us, and as we mentioned a couple of episodes before, you cannot purchase these, right? These are going to be kind of gifted by us periodically over the course of the next couple of months. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. We'll be having different opportunities where you can potentially win those. But Global Scarves is the top provider of custom knitted scarves, beanies, and other fan merchandise in the United States. All merch is fully custom with free design services and free shipping on all orders. Contact them at info@globalscarves.com to get any free designs or quotes built up for your school or club. Excuse me. Again, that is info@globalscarves.com to get any free designs and quotes built out for your school or club or program, whatever you want to have. Let's say you want to have some individual ones done, they'll do that too. And just for being a 50/50 podcast listener, supporter, they're going to take care of you. So just mention to them just mention to them the podcast, the 50/50 podcast, or use the code #5050pod, and they'll take care of you. So again, that's Global Scarves. All right, our 4A boys final. So we will crown a second state champion of the week. That'll take place tomorrow. And I don't know how many people truly had this matchup, right? Maybe last week. But, here it is. We have Palestine and Hidalgo. You have Palestine comes in at 31-1 on the year. Hidalgo comes in 27-7-3 on the year. Thoughts on this? This one is slated for approximately 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. Again, that will be after the second 6A girls semifinal and before the first boys 6A semifinal. Palestina and Hidalgo. What are your thoughts, Coach?
Well, Palestine, like I said, they're the favorite. But how about your feeling about this game? And if you look back on history, especially with Palestine, they have trouble beating teams from the border. They had trouble with San Eli. They had trouble with Progreso. And if you look at this Hidalgo team, it's been a 3-year process for them. Like I said, they got blown out. Most of these when they were fresh, and they got blown out by Bernie when Bernie had the run. Last year they came short again. This year they finally kind of pieced it together. It would have went on penalty kicks, and they had a good win over St. Eli yesterday. Which maybe some people say maybe that was the final.
Right.
But Palestine, historically, like I've seen in the past, they've had trouble with teams, like I said, from those areas. Palestine has to set the tone, and they have, like I said, and score early, because if they fall, I've noticed every time they fall behind with some of these teams, they haven't been able to recover. So I think the pressure's on them to complete this. Hidalgo, like I said, no one really expected them, and I think a lot of people didn't expect them to beat San Eli either.
Mm-hmm.
So going in, they're going to go all out. Like I said, they have nothing there. Like I'm sure Coach Morales is going to mention, hey, we have nothing to lose. The pressure's on them. Let's just play our game, and either we win it or we don't. It's like I said, we got here. And let's see what happens. So it's going to be a good game. Like I said, it's depending on who's willing to impose their style of play. That's going to be the key there. Who wins this game tomorrow?
Okay, good. So, all right. So we're going to go back. We're going to hold your feet to the fire here. We're going to get predictions and scores here. What are your thoughts? So we'll go back. We're going to go through the whole slate here. So Wiley East, Fort Bend, Ridge Point.
If you look at this game, it's kind of like last year. Wiley East is near Rockwall. So it's another. I'm going to give the edge to Wiley East. It'll be a close game. I think this might go to overtime, but I think Wiley East finds a way to win on this one.
All right. You got a score?
I'll give it 2-1.
2-1. All right. Marcus and Westwood.
I say Marcus winning 1-3-0.
Ooh, okay. All right. I just know this. If that one is somehow 0-0 through the early in the second half, I don't know. But yeah. All right. Katy Seven Lakes and Saxy, Garland Saxy.
This Saxy's like the boogeyman. That's what I described them, the boogeyman of the tournament, because you just don't know. Seven Lakes is in for a fight on this one. Yeah. And I'm sure they're aware of that. I think this one they get a 2-1 win on this one. This one's going to be close, but I think Seven Lakes finds a way to win.
So okay, so you heard that here first. Rafa has Katy Seven Lakes advancing over the Kukui 2-1, as he puts it, right? So I don't know. This one's going to be interesting.
Yeah. But like I said, but if Garland if they start out strong and they get an early lead, don't be surprised. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this could go either way, but you do got to give the edge a little bit of Seven Lakes. But like I said, just keeping an eye on the Sasky team, they know how to grind things out, and like I said, maybe like I said, spread that little fear that they spread doubt on you. That's the thing. If that doesn't get that to the head of Seven Lakes will win. But they start doubting themselves. Sasky's going to win that game.
And then Allen and Dripping Springs. So this is, again, an Allen squad that is just, they're never out, right? They're like the as much as it pains me to say it, they're like the Manchester United of old, right? They're just they figure it out late. And then Dripping Springs, fabulous community, fabulous team, well coached, but high expectations for sure. Their first year in 6A, but yet you can say that they've almost overachieved year one and house money, if you will. Thoughts, scoreline on this one?
Well, like even last year's team, Dripping Springs team, I think they were probably one of the best teams in the state not to win. And for them to come this far, kudos to their, to their program, and it's something to be proud of. But I think it's going to ring midnight for Cinderella tomorrow, and I think Allen's going to end up winning this one. I can see it maybe a 3-2 game on this one.
So Jason Lives advances to the final, huh, Allen? All right, and then we'll wrap up with our 4A boys final, Palestine and Hidalgo. What's scoreline and prediction?
My mind says something else. I feel upset. I have a feeling there's going to be an upset.
Yeah.
Just by like history. What Palestinians have. What I've seen them play with these.
This could be a penalties. This could be a penalties match.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This could be the first penalty kicks of the. We haven't had penalty kicks. It was just a shock there.
Right.
So this could be the first one. And you saw what they did last week. They have a quality goalkeeper there. The one thing with Palestine, they also had, like I said, the majority of their team are freshmen. And Hidalgo's team, there are a lot of juniors. So they are a little bit more experienced than Palestine there as far as, they've been together a little bit longer than the Palestine team, even though Palestine do have some upperclassmen that have had some success. But is this going to be too much for them? The pressure is going to be too much for them because they survived a game against Lumberton, which I'm sure, like I said, they should have, I think, beaten Lumberton by a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I smell upset on this one. I'm going to go with Hidalgo 2-1.
Wow. All right. So no penalties, huh? In regulation,
if it goes
overtime, what is that? What do you got?
I think maybe overtime, but if they go to penalties, I think Hidalgo wins in PKs.
All right. Okay. Good. Interesting. I think we're good. I think we're in for some drama tomorrow. That's what I think across multiple matches. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be a dramatic shift tomorrow. So we'll see. So that's going to do it. But before we wrap up, that last segment brought to you by our good friends at Gipper. So Gipper is a way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 2,500 coaches, ADs, and clubs, and use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. And if you do have that design experience, you're what's called the power user, as they like to refer to it. They are designed for that power user in mind as well. So, and they're going to reward you just for being a 50/50 podcast supporter, a listener of the 50/50 podcast. You can receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase on their annual packages. Simply all you have to do is visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. All right. That's going to do it, Coach. Stoppage time. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to share? What's on your mind? Whether it can be about today, it can be, Real Madrid glory. What's on your mind?
Just so the teams for tomorrow, just don't choke like Man United today. Take care of a lead, but just kudos to, like I said, to Lexi Tweet. I mean, that's probably one of the best performances and maybe in Texas high school. I know this is the 40th anniversary of the state playoffs for high school soccer here in Texas. That's probably one of the best, or maybe even the best performance in a final or any game, as on the final game on the state tournament. So kudos to her, and congratulations against the Salina for back-to-back state titles. But also the teams that made it to they got eliminated today. Like I said, great seasons for them. All the hard work paid off. It's tough to get to Georgetown. It's not an easy. None of the games are easy. It's a long track. So out of all the teams, to get to the Final Four says a lot about your program. So that should don't have your heads down. That's something to be proud of. Look back. When you look back, after graduation, like say, hey, at least you're one of the few to get there. So congratulations to everyone who did. Like I said, who's made it this far.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's a great point. And a little bit, my final thought, I want to kind of expand on what you were talking about there with Lexi, Lexi Tweed and the 40-year anniversary of high school soccer here in Texas. And if you haven't read it, if you haven't seen it yet, we tweeted yesterday. It was 40 years later. It was an article written by Terrence Thomas out of San Antonio, used to former sports writer for the San Antonio Express News. Now he's an independent. Wrote a great article. Had obviously had a little bit more of a San Antonio focus to it, but it talked a lot about in terms of UIL and Texas high school soccer and how, and its origins in 1983 and how far it's come in 40 years, how far it still has to go. But I think, that's part of the reason why we're here. That's part of the genesis of the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, right? And then, which has been around for how long now? Is that like 6 years?
5 years. 5 years. I think about 5 years.
5 years. And then us, little old 50/50 podcast. We just kind of threw our head in the ring, and December launched in the right smack dab in the heart of the pandemic, December 2020. And so this December we'll hit 3 years, and it's been a joy. We do it again. We always say that we do it for you all, because of you all, the listeners, the supporters, the community, the Texas high school soccer community. So whether you're the student athlete, the coach, the parent, an administrator, what have you, that is us, right? That is us. And you're the reason why we do it. So yeah, to be able to share that with you all, to be on this stage. And then of course the soccer gods have helped us out with great weather over the last couple of, the first 2 days. Hopefully, knock on wood, that remains the case for the next 2 days. It looks like it will, from my understanding. But yeah, I think again, go check out Terrence Thomas's article if you can. We did tweet that out yesterday. It's a great read as well. So congratulations again to Coach Adams and his Salina Lady Bobcats. We've crowned our first state champion. We will crown a second tomorrow. And then to all our programs that came up short today, that were on the short end of the stick, still congratulations. I mean, to be playing on essentially what is the second to last day of your season, right, says a lot, right? So take pride in that. And thank you to all our student athletes. Thank you to all our coaches, our administrators. Thank you to all of you for just giving us that great product, and to Georgetown for hosting, right, and Berkelbach Field and that staff. Thank you for hosting, and just for continuing to give us a great product. So we're grateful for that. So that's going to do it. A reminder, we will be back with you tomorrow immediately. Well, no, I shouldn't say immediately. Probably we're trying to aim for approximately 30 minutes after the final match. So we'll send reminders on that. But join us tomorrow, where we'll do our 4A boys championship wrap up. We'll look at our 6A wrap up, and then we'll look at 5A, and we'll look at championship Saturday with all our 5A and 6A title games that are slated for Saturday. So that's going to do it. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share, Jeff?
Like I said, good luck to everyone tomorrow who's playing. Just give it all you got, and just leave it on the field. And also, like I said, we're looking forward to tomorrow night. See the results, and I'm sure that we're gonna have some great games. Like I said, we're gonna have some great games tomorrow.
Right. Awesome. So for Rafa, I am Coach Hector Cano, and you know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.
You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.